Hi and welcome everyone to another gaming review on my channel. My name is Denis and today we're going to discuss about everything that happened in Gaming 3 of Fantasy Premier League, the biggest disappointments, what we learned and also what are we going to do in the future. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like, hit that subscribe button, but now let's get into it. Okay, so as I said before, in today's video I'm going to discuss about pretty much everything that happened in Gaming 3 of Fantasy Premier League, so feel free to jump to whichever part of the video you want, but in the first part I want to discuss a little bit real short about how my gaming tree was. Now, as you can see from the screen, I can't really say that this gaming was horrible for me, but I am a little bit disappointed. Now, I finished on 53 points, so I got a big green arrow from 5.1 millions to 3.3 millions. Now, definitely this is not the place I want to be talking about rank, but it is just the start of the season. Just 3 gamings of Fantasy Premier League are done at the moment, so hopefully we have some hope for the future, obviously. Now, again, last game week in game week 2 I made 2 transfers, so I used my 2 free transfers to transfer out Cole Palmer and Guyu to Sar and Mateta, and as you can see from the screen I'm really happy that I nailed the transfer, because obviously as you can see from the screen Sar scored 7 points and Mateta 5. Now the sad part about it is that I just bought Sar and he got injured. We need to see what Glasner is going to say in the press conference this week, but at the moment it's looking like he's not going to be fit for game week 4, so I'm going to have some headaches to think about for this game week. I'm going to talk a little bit more in my team selection, but if we look a little bit about how my team performed in game week 3, I'm overall really happy with my defense. So Sanchez got another clean sheet, Pedro Porro conceded against Bournemouth, but he got at least 2 defensive contribution points, and also I'm really happy with my pick from Crystal Palace, Richards. He scored 8 points, so yeah, really happy about that. Now obviously the big disappointment for my team is I've gone with someone like Milenkovic, and Nottingham Forest are just not keeping clean sheets at the moment, so yeah, a little bit disappointing. Other players who are disappointing for me obviously are the Aston Villa players. Aston Villa failed to score in the first 3 gamings of the season, so that's really frustrating for us, for me as an owner of 2 players, 2 attacking players from Aston Villa, Rodgers, Watkins, but the fixtures are just decent, so I'm trying to be cautious a little bit about making a lot of rush decisions, but I'm going to tell you it is really hard. The same could be said about Wirtz and Mohamed Salah, so both of them blanked. They got both of them 3 points. Now a little bit disappointed with my captaincy option. Obviously I captained Mohamed Salah against Arsenal. I knew before that it's going to be a tough fixture. He didn't have a lot of chances to score, but again I didn't have a lot of decent captaincy options into my team. I thought about someone like João Pedro, and now obviously I feel a little bit disappointed about my decision to not go for João Pedro as my captain, but again maybe it's a little bit hindsight. It is what it is. I think that the team looks decent for gaming 4, don't get me wrong. Now again, my problems are going to be definitely if Sar is going to be injured long term, probably I'm just going to sell him, because there isn't really any point of keeping a player who's going to be out for a month or 2. So I'm going to look to transfer him to another midfielder, or if someone like Sar is going to be fit, I would look like to sell someone like Milenkovic or maybe someone like Aaron Wan-Bissaka to another defender who's going to have a decent fixture in game week 4. Now another positive thing about my decisions is that I got my bench order right, at least. So Dubravka with 2 points, Reinders, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Esteve, all of them blanked, and also my decision was to play someone like Sar against Aston Villa instead of playing Reinders, whose ownership is really huge at the moment, so that there was a little bit of a risk, but I got that decision right a little bit. So yeah, we're going to see what I'm going to do with my team this week, but now let's move to the next section. Okay, now moving forward in the next part, we're going to take a look shortly to see which players got the most points in gaming 3. Now we're going to discuss about defenders, midfielder and strikers here. If we talk a little bit about the defenders, obviously Crystal Palace trashed Aston Villa away 3-0, so a lot of players from Crystal Palace are going to be on this list. Obviously someone like Guehi, he scored, he got 15 points this gaming, that's just amazing. He is going to remain at Crystal Palace, so definitely now he's going to be an option for us. If we talk, let's talk a little bit about the other Crystal Palace defenders, because all of them were great. So Guehi, Lacroix, Munoz, Richards, pretty much every one of them were decent this gaming. They got a lot of defensive contributions. Munoz got an attacking return, so Yeah, definitely. Crystal Palace is a team we're going to look to invest in the future, so there's no surprises here. If we talk a little bit about Bournemouth, someone like Senesi, I talked a little bit about him also in the preseason. We knew before that he's going to be decent for defensive contributions. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about these players in the next parts. Now, I just want to cover which players got the most points. Chalobah from Chelsea, Tosin from Chelsea. Chelsea won against Fulham 2-0. So I think that Chelsea defense is a little bit overlooked. So I said that a lot of times this season, and I think that they're going to be great this season. Now, does that mean that Tosin and Chalobah are going to be forever good FPL options? Probably not, and definitely there is a risk attached to that. But definitely, if you want a safe Chelsea defender, you're just going to go for Cucurella. Diouf, again, really funny because in the first two game weeks of the season, West Ham were horrible. They conceded a lot of goals and they just won against Nottingham Forest away 3-0, the same way as Crystal Palace won against Aston Villa. So again, maybe we underestimated West Ham too soon. Definitely someone like Diouf for 4.5 million could be a decent option in the future, but the fixtures are just not there for West Ham. So at the moment, I don't think that you should rush to buy him. Gudmundsson with a 9-pointer. So again, I'm really impressed with Leeds as a team. In the first three game weeks of the season, they kept a clean sheet against Newcastle. And with Isak or not, we know that it's not that easy to keep a clean sheet against a team like Newcastle. Usually they are really offensive. If we talk a little bit about Virgil van Dijk, again, Liverpool got a clean sheet against Arsenal. The fixtures are decent in the next two for Liverpool, so definitely I think that if you want a safe place into that Liverpool defense, Virgil van Dijk is the best option you can get. If we move to the midfielders, again, someone like Soboslai tops the chart here with a 13-pointer. He got an amazing free kick against Arsenal. So again, I don't think that he's going to be an amazing FPL option. He played as a right back for Liverpool in the last two games. I don't think that's going to continue. I'm not sure if his minutes are going to be as safe as someone like Wirtz, but again, definitely someone like Soboslai could get defensive contributions. Maybe he's going to be also on free kicks now that Trent is gone, but definitely I don't think that you should rush again to destroy your team to just buy someone like Soboslai. I think that we have a lot of good cheap midfielders at the moment under 6.5 millions. And talking about cheap midfielders, someone like Dewsbury Hall, someone like Grealish from Everton, they just can't stop scoring. So again, at 5 minutes, I think that Dewsbury Hall is an amazing option. Currently, we're going to have a lot of really cheap midfielders in the game. So definitely, if you have them, it is nice. Congrats. And also, I just again don't think that you should rip your team to just buy someone like Grealish and Dewsbury Hall. The fixtures in the short term are not amazing. They're going to play against Liverpool in the next two game weeks, I think. So again, the same goes for someone like Enzo Lefebvre, who could be on penalties. A lot of Sunderland fans are saying that he's not going to be nailed to play every game week of the season. Now, again, he's a player from Sunderland. I don't think that you should rip your team to buy him. Enzo from Chelsea, he took a penalty. Obviously, Palmer was missing, so probably Enzo Fernandez is going to be the second penalty taker when Palmer is not going to be on the pitch. But remember, guys, Palmer probably is going to be fit for game week 4. We need to see what's going to happen in the press conference. Again, at 6.6 millions, I think that Enzo Fernandez is a fine option. I don't think that he's at the moment 100% you just need to buy him, but he's a decent option. Again, probably he's not going to be on penalties because Palmer is going to be back, but yeah, if we move to the Manchester United boys, here Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes got 10 points, both of them. Now, again, remember guys, they played at home against Burnley. I wasn't really impressed with Manchester United. We're going to talk a little bit about them in a minute. But again, there are a lot of good options, and definitely when the fixtures are going to get better for Manchester United, someone like Mbeumo, someone like Kune maybe are going to be decent options, but overall, not really impressed with them. Paqueta from West Ham is another really interesting option because he's really cheap. As you can see, 5.9 millions. He got 10 points, he scored a penalty, so we know that he's going to be on penalties probably when he's going to be on the pitch. So want to consider Gruda from Brighton. I don't think that you should buy him right now. Yeah, he scored against Manchester City, the winner, but I don't think that he's going to be that consistent with the minutes. And with Sarr, we just talked about him in the last section. He scored 7 points, but he also got injured, so we need to see if he's going to be fit for game week 4. If he's going to be fit, obviously, I think that Sarr is a great option at 6.5 millions. Now, if we move to the forwards, not a lot of them here. João Pedro, Haaland, Bowen, all three of them with 9 points, and then Evan Nilsson and Isildur from Sunderland with 8 points. So again, I would not consider Isildur at the moment because he's a Sunderland player, and I don't think that he's going to be that nailed to play 90 minutes every game week. It's really funny if you look at João Pedro and Haaland, they both of them scored 9 points, and one of them is almost double the price. So again, definitely I'm not saying that Haaland is a bad pick, but it is really a lot to pay for a 9-pointer, to be honest with you. Bowen, really happy for all those people who kept Bowen, and also I'm really happy with my advice, because on stream I said a lot of people, if you have Bowen, just keep him for one more fixture or two more fixtures, and I'm really happy for those people that he scored and he delivered. So again, decent options: Evan Nilsson, Bowen, Haaland, João Pedro. Probably I would not rush to buy someone like Bowen at the moment, but João Pedro just continues to score a lot of goals, and I think that is just a great option at 7.7 millions. But now let's move to the next section. Moving forward, we're going to discuss about some of the biggest disappointments that happen in Game Week 3, and we're going to start with the first one. And also really funny because I just transferred in Ismail Assar. Obviously he got the 7 pointers, but then he got injured and he was subbed off. Now again, Crystal Palace also didn't have any substitutions to make, so he just gone out of the pitch. So it is really not great for the owners, to be honest with you. So Sarr injured after scoring. Now the only problem right now is what are we going to do with someone like Sarr. Again, at the moment I would advise you to be patient to see what Glasner is going to say in his press conference. At the moment the situation is that probably he has a groin injury, something like that, and probably is going to be out for 4 to 8 weeks, something like that. So if he's going to miss 1 month, 2 months, I just think that you should just sell him. Obviously if you have other players to play instead of him, you can roll this week and sell him afterwards. But again, if he's going to be out long term, probably he's just a sell, and it is really frustrating. Trust me, I know I have him into my team. If we talk about the second disappointment here, Cunha subbed off with an injury. And it is really frustrating because also if I was to buy a Manchester United player for Game Week 3 against Burnley, it would be Cunha. So really happy I didn't got to that decision to make, but it is really unlucky for the owners. I know that I advise a lot of people to buy players like Cunha if you really want to buy a Manchester United player, because I just thought that he would be a great option. Now obviously it is really unlucky that he got injured. You can't really predict all those things. So again, if you have Cunha, just let's monitor the situation a little bit to see if the injury is going to keep him out for a long period of time or for a short period of time, and then we're going to assess what you're going to do with him. Watkins and Rodgers not getting enough chances, maybe that's not the best way to put it. Aston Villa were really bad in the first 3 game weeks of the season, so they failed to score 1 goal in the first 3 game weeks of the season, and usually we know that Aston Villa are a really good attacking side. Watkins scored a lot of goals in the preseason. He pretty much scored in every preseason game, so it is really unlucky and frustrating for the owners. And trust me, I know I have both of them into my team. At the moment the fixtures are really good for Aston Villa, so definitely it is really tough to say to you that you should keep him because the fixtures are great. So definitely I understand if you had enough of Watkins, of Rodgers, and you want to have other players, yeah, you can just transfer them out. But again, we should try to not make any rush decisions at the moment, and I know it is really hard. Spurs failed to score and concede. Now again, Spurs were amazing in the first 2 game weeks of the season. Maybe it is a little bit of a disappointment because of the first 2 really good performances against Manchester City also. So again, if you have players from Spurs, definitely just keep them. I think that they are still going to be decent for the future, and the fixtures are still good for them. Now with Newcastle, Barnes and Elanga, surprisingly both of them were on the bench against Leeds. That was a really weird decision from Eddie Howe. I don't think that we're going to see that happening a lot of times this season, but that should tell you that it is a little bit of a risk picking players, attacking players from Newcastle. Now Arsenal failed to impress attacking wise. Again, it was a tough fixture. Arsenal played against Liverpool at Anfield, so it's not that easy to score. We saw Liverpool defended also amazingly, but Arsenal overall weren't really convincing from my point of view in the first 3 game weeks of the season, attacking wise. Defensive wise, I'm really impressed with Arsenal. I think that they're going to keep a lot of clean sheets. But yeah, again, the fixtures are going to turn from game week 7. I don't think that it is a rush to buy players like Gyökeres if you're not wildcarding, obviously, but the fixtures are going to turn, and probably we're going to see a lot more goals from Arsenal with all these players are going to be fit. Gyökeres, Bukayo Saka also. Nottingham Forest, another disappointment, and mostly for the defenders because they conceded again in the first 3 game weeks of the season. Now we know that Nottingham Forest were an amazing side defensive wise in the first part of the last season, and I expected them to drop, but I didn't expect them to drop that much. Now again, the fixtures after game week 4 are really decent for Nottingham Forest, so probably you can make a case to just keep them if you have them already, because yeah, the fixtures are just good. Maybe they're going to keep also some clean sheets, but it is a concern definitely. Anderson also from Nottingham Forest failed to get defensive contributions for a 3rd time in a row. So, and also it is really frustrating for the owners because he was just really that close to getting defensive contribution points. 11 defensive contributions in the last 3 game weeks of the season. It is really unlucky for the owners, but I just think that if you have Anderson, he's still a decent option, and I think that he's going to get those defensive contributions at some point. And more importantly, he really plays good in that Nottingham Forest team, so I don't think that he's going to be a rotation risk or something like that in the near future. So I think that you should just keep him. Now let's move to see what we learned from Game Week 3. In the next part, we're going to discuss about what we learned from Game Week 3 of Fantasy Premier League and also what we can do to improve in the future. That's the most important thing. Let's start with the first one. Liverpool are still a good defense. Now, also myself included, a lot of people thought that Liverpool looked a little bit shaky in the first 2 game weeks of the season, and that's true, don't get me wrong, they didn't look amazing defensive wise, but now with this performance against Arsenal we know that Liverpool can be a good defense, and I'm saying that full of confidence because obviously they made a lot of transfers in defense, so they need to adapt to the new players. Obviously Frimpong, Kierkegaard, Bradley is going to get more minutes this season, so again it's going to take some time to adapt, but Liverpool are going to be still a great defense, so definitely I think that it is not a bad plan to invest in Liverpool's defense. If you want to go for someone safe, you just go for Virgil van Dijk. We need to see how they're going to line up when Frimpong, when Bradley, when all these players are going to be fit, but again, overall, really impressed with Liverpool. Also, Arsenal didn't create a lot of chances in the second half. So, yeah, we need to see what's going to happen in the future. Spurs still need to improve now. Obviously, that's not a secret or something like that. Spurs looked amazing in the first 2 game weeks of the season, and they didn't really look so bad against Bournemouth. Bournemouth are a good team attacking wise, so I'm not really surprised that they scored against Spurs. But overall, we should not just buy a lot of players from Spurs just because we think that they're going to win every game, because obviously that's not going to happen. But overall, the fixtures are really good for Tottenham, so I think that they have some really interesting options in defense and in attack also. Manchester United not convincing again despite winning. Now, yeah, remember guys, they played against Burnley. They won the game in the last minute pretty much with the Bruno Fernandes penalty. So again, really good for the owners, but it was Burnley, guys. So I'm not really convinced about Manchester United at the moment from what I saw in the first 3 game weeks of the season. In the game week 1 against Arsenal, to be honest with you, I was impressed with Manchester United, but after that, it's just not looking like it's clicking for Manchester United. Now, if I learn one thing from Manchester United performances is that they can score goals, and definitely at some point players like Bruno Fernandes, Mbeumo, Cunha are going to be decent options. And also if you want a safe player, someone like Bruno Fernandes is amazing because he's also getting defensive contributions, he's on set pieces, he's going to be also on penalties. So again, if you want to go safe, I don't think that Bruno Fernandes is such a bad option. West Ham impressed against Forest. Now again, after a lot of people, myself included, ruled West Ham out in the first 2 game weeks of the season because they were horrible. Now they show that they can still play football, and again, I'm not saying that we should invest right now in West Ham players. Definitely I'm not saying that because the fixtures are just not there, but at some point players like Bowen, players like Diouf could be decent options. And again, maybe some player like Paqueta could be mini Bruno Fernandes, if you want to call him like that. Aston Villa players, should we sell them? So this is the point where I wanted to get. Now it is really frustrating for the owners, trust me. I have Watkins, I have Rodgers into my team at the moment. we're going to discuss also about transfers, but Aston Villa bought some players in this transfer market who probably are going to improve that team, but surely you can't just keep Rodgers, keep Watkins, hoping that they are going to play better attacking wise. But on the same page, the fixtures for Aston Villa are amazing, and if you picked Aston Villa players like me, you pick them also for these fixtures who are going to come up. So it is really tough to sell them at the moment. For me, from my team, probably I'm just going to keep him, to keep them for 1, 2, 3 game weeks maybe. I'm going to give them that at least, but definitely it is a big concern for me because they really didn't look great in the first 3 game weeks of the season attacking wise. So yeah, Palace looking good again. Now again, Crystal Palace trashed Aston Villa away. So although they lost some players, they are going to miss some creativity from players like Eze, from players like Sar if he's going to be out long term. But definitely the fixture are decent for Crystal Palace, starting with Sunderland in game week 4. So definitely someone like Mateta, I think that is going to be a decent option. Defensive options from them are really good at the moment. I wish I had someone like Munoz, someone like Richard, someone like Lacroix. All these players are going to be decent in the future. Even someone like Guehi, now that we know that he's going to stay for at Crystal Palace. So again, they are really cheap and they are a good team. They impressed me in the first 3 game weeks of the season, to be honest with you. Attacking wise, defensive wise, they played really good in this start of the season. Newcastle are going to rotate in attack. We're going to talk also, Newcastle got some players in this transfer market. We saw that Elanga and Barnes were benched in game week 3 against Leeds. Now I don't think that's going to happen regularly because they missed players like Barnes. Obviously, Gordon is out with the red card. So again, they have a lot of players in attack, and in some spots, I think that they are going to rotate. And definitely, if you want to invest in players from Newcastle, you should know that there is a little bit of a risk because they have a lot of players who can play in those positions. So they have Barnes, they have Murphy, they have Elanga. They have players like Gordon, and now they have also Wissa and Voldemort. So again, they have a lot of players. Probably some rotations are going to occur there. Chelsea's defense being overlooked. I talked about Chelsea's defense in the preseason. I thought that they were going to be a great defense, and they are, to be honest with you. And again, maybe they are overlooked a little bit by myself. Again, players like Cucurella could be decent. The fixtures are not amazing for Chelsea in the next few game weeks. They are mixed a little bit, so that's the only thing that's putting me off a little bit about buying someone like Cucurella instead of someone like Virgil van Dijk, for an example. But definitely, it is a good strategy to invest in Chelsea defenders and also in the goalkeeper spot, someone like Sanchez. João Pedro is more nailed now than ever. Now, again, he was really popular at the start of the season, but I think that right now he's a really great option because Jackson is out, is gone to Bayern Munich. Delap is injured. Again, I don't see a lot of competition for João Pedro, and his minutes are just going to be amazing at the moment. Also, if Palmer is going to be out, I know that Enzo Fernandez took the last penalty for Chelsea, but a lot of Chelsea fans think that João Pedro gave that penalty to Enzo Fernandez. So yeah, maybe there is a chance João Pedro is going to be on penalties when Palmer is not going to be out, but probably that doesn't really matter because probably Palmer is going to be back in the team. But what I want to say here is that João Pedro, I think that is going to be a great option at that price. If you have him, definitely you keep him, and I would really be interested to buy him if you don't have him already into your team. Bournemouth, a good team to invest in the future. That's what I think because the fixtures are decent. A lot of people, myself included, I thought that Bournemouth are going to drop a little bit because they lost all their defense in the transfer market, in the summer market. But they are still going to be decent going forward, and that they are still decent defensive wise, taking into consideration that they lost a lot of defenders. So again, the fixtures are decent. Players like Semenyo, Evan Nilsson, Senesi are going to be great value for the future. So that's why I think that they are a good team to invest. Now let's move to the last part. In the last part, I want to discuss real short about what happened with the transfers on deadline day. Now that's why I advise a lot of people to hold your transfer because a lot of things are going to happen until the transfer market is going to be closed, and that happened now. Finally, the transfer market is closed and we can see what players some teams signed. So finally the saga with Alexander Isak is over. He joined Liverpool. Now what does that mean to if you're an owner of someone like Ekitike, someone like Gakpo? Again, I don't think that short term they are going to be fine, so don't worry about that. Isak is not going to start probably against Burnley. That's my opinion. He didn't have any preseason for Newcastle. He didn't play with Sweden national team, so I don't think that he's going to be rushed from Liverpool, considering that also Ekitike played really good in the first 3 game weeks of the season, so he's fine for game week 4 for sure, 100%. I think that's my opinion. Now after that, in the future, I think that obviously Isak is going to be the first number 9. I don't think that they are going to play with 2 number 9s, so on so many occasions, to be honest with you. So definitely the minutes of Gakpo and Ekitike are going to be a concern at some point, but right now you should not panic too much about that. And Isak, when he's going to be fit and playing for Liverpool, probably he's going to be a good FPL option, as you'd imagine. Now from Spurs, Colomwani is in. Maybe that's going to impact obviously Richarlison minutes. I don't think that he's going to be 100% nailed to start as a number 9 for Tottenham, but again, definitely is going to impact some other players. Xavi Simons at 7 millions, it is a really nice transfer for Spurs. I see him as a similar profile to someone like Wirtz in some cases. Obviously he's 7 million, so he's cheaper, the fixtures are decent. He's going to play as a number 10 for Spurs, so I think that he could be a nice option, and also probably is going to be on some set pieces still. Jackson gone, Guyu back from Chelsea. We talked a little bit about Chelsea. That's just going to make João Pedro an amazing option at the moment because his minutes are going to go up. I don't think that someone like Guyu is going to start instead of someone like João Pedro. Let me just put it like that. So definitely this is what's going to happen to Chelsea attack. For Newcastle, Voldemad and Wissa are in, so they signed 2 strikers. Obviously they lost Isak. Now I think that both of them at the moment are going to be avoids. I think that Wissa is going to get the node because he is Premier League proven. Now he also didn't have a lot of preseason Wissa, so again it is really tough to predict which one of these players is going to be nailed. Probably they're going to share the minutes. I don't think that both of them are going to play together at the moment. I would just avoid both of them. For Aston Villa, a really interesting transfer deadline day. They signed Sancho, Elliott, Lindelof. Now Lindelof, I don't think that is going to be in our perspective at the moment, at least as a defender, but Sancho, Elliott, really interesting options. And again, with Sancho, I think that he's going to rotate a little bit because they have a lot of players who can play in that position. The same could be said about Elliott, but a lot of Aston Villa fans are saying that he's going to go straight into that 11. And for me, as a Liverpool fan, this is also my opinion. I think that Elliott is a fantastic player, and at 5.4 million, I think he is in FPL. He's a really great option, and personally, if he's going to get into that 11, I think that is going to be a decent option, and I will be trying to find some ways to have him into my team because the fixtures, as I said before, are decent for Aston Villa, and hopefully these signings are going to help also some players like Rodgers, players like Watkins. For Nottingham Forest, Zinchenko in. Now obviously they signed a lot of other players. They signed some strikers, some midfielders. They have a lot of players, Nottingham Forest. Now for the moment there is a lot of uncertainty about Nottingham Forest. We don't know if they are going to keep their manager Nuno Espirito Santo. So again, I would not advise anyone to buy players for Nottingham Forest, but obviously the Zinchenko transfer means that maybe there's going to be some competition with Nico Williams. Now again, I still expect Nico Williams to be the starter for Nottingham Forest, but definitely with so many transfers, I think that there's going to be some rotation for Nottingham Forest. Obviously they are going to play also in Europe, so we need to see what's going to happen. And with Manchester City, Ederson leaves, Donnarumma in. Definitely he has the same price as someone like Ederson had, someone like Raya, 5.5 millions. Again, not really exciting to talk about the goalkeeper from Manchester City, but definitely if Manchester City are going to get better defensively, we could talk about him when the fixtures are going to get better. Thank you so much for watching this video this long. It really means a lot and I really appreciate it. Special thanks also to my members, to my supporters on Patreon. If you want to support the channel, you have the links into my description. Thanks a lot for being here. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like, hit that subscribe button, and I'm going to see you next time. Bye. Bag pura lor, când mă întreabă oamenii de unde sunt le zic de